amidst massive record flooding in the Midwest and one of the worst weather-related disasters in entire history of the continent of Africa, Mozambique. Ideas as ambitious and controversial as the Green New Deal would seem to warrant some serious consideration, but not for Republicans like Senator Mike Lee, who is determined to make juvenile, wickedly unfunny jokes instead.
Tauntauns, Mr. President. Now, while perhaps not as efficient in some ways as airplanes or as snowmobiles, these hairy bipedal species of space lizards offer their own unique benefits. All residents of Hawaii would be left with is this. This is a picture of Aquaman. I draw your attention, Mr. President, to the 20-foot impressive seahorse he's riding. Under the Green New Deal, this is probably Hawaii's best bet.
I think they edited out the laugh track in that one. What's happening with the Earth's climate is actually a challenge to civilization the likes of which human beings have never seen. Global carbon emissions hit a record last year, according to a newly released report. Senator Lee and his Republican counterparts in the House, and basically the entire party, still insist that Democrats want to take away their cows.
We would go from about 94 million cows to 0 cows. No more milk, no more cheese, no more steak, no more hamburgers. Every cow I spoke to said the same thing. Boo.
In this dream, there are no South Dakota dairy cattle. That means there's no South Dakota milk, and that means there are no South Dakota milkshakes.
Are they bringing along the drums for the room shots? Do they have an audience in place? Their approach would itself be laughable, but for the fact that there are literally hundreds of millions of people's lives on the line, here in this country, around the world. Republicans have not suggested any meaningful alternative in the face of the bold and polarizing policy called the Green New Deal, but put forward by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey. Today, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's ploy to have a show vote in the Senate backfired. We'll hear from one of the Green New Deal sponsors next.
The proposal addresses the small matter of eliminating, listen to this, eliminating the use of all fossil fuels nationwide over 10 years. Get rid of it all. It might sound like a neat idea in places like San Francisco or New York, the places that the Democratic Party seems totally focused on these days, but the communities, frankly, everywhere else would be absolutely crushed.
That was part of Mitch McConnell's game plan today to dismiss the Green New Deal as some socialist daydream that will devastate the livelihoods of the country's middle class, the middle Americans, and then hold a procedural vote aimed at getting Democrats on the record about their support for said proposal. Democrats overwhelmingly voted present when the resolution came up for a vote, though 4 senators joined Republicans in voting explicitly against the Green New Deal: Doug Jones, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, and Independent Senator Angus King. To get a better understanding of what happened today, I'm joined by the Senate co-sponsor of the Green New Deal, Senator Ed Markey, Democrat from Massachusetts. Senator, did you vote? How did you vote today?
Well, I voted present. And
why would you do that?
I voted present because Mitch McConnell and the Republicans were making a mockery of the legislative process. They gave us no hearings. We could have no expert witnesses. We could have no scientists. We could have no people from the states which have been affected by the massive climate-related damage which has occurred, from forest fires in California to these storms across the Midwest, the hurricanes sweeping through Texas and Florida. None of that was allowed to be presented as part of a hearing process. So they were just making a mockery of the process, a sham, to bring it out so they could make a political point for the Koch brothers and for ExxonMobil and the rest of their polluting buddies. And we just decided that we would not participate in anything that was such a disgrace in terms of how it was treating the severity of this problem, which is climate change.
Today illustrated to me the enormous gap. I mean, I think the Republicans, by and large, your fellow colleagues, they see it all as a joke, as a stunt. I mean, the gap between what the actual physics are, what the science says, what the scale of the challenge is, and where the Republicans are, it almost seems unovercomable to me. Does it to you?
It's pretty big. I mean, the United Nations and their scientists at the end of 2018 said that the climate is warming so rapidly that it now poses an existential threat to the planet. The 13 federal agencies with jurisdiction over climate issued their own report at the end of 2018. They came to a conclusion that said this is very serious and we had to do something about it. Standing on the other side is the Republican Party led by the denier-in-chief, Donald Trump, who believes that it's a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese, that doesn't believe in the science, and is pretty much putting a coal lobbyist to head the EPA, an oil lobbyist to head the Department of Interior. They have made a complete and total joke out of this. But unfortunately, it is not a joke. It is a real threat to this planet. And that is why the Green New Deal that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I introduced has now triggered nationally an incredible response that we haven't seen in 10 years on this issue. We're having the first debate on it in 10 years, and it is now injecting itself into the presidential race, into congressional and senatorial races all across this country, and it is not going to go away.
So the 20-second elevator pitch for the Green New Deal on Trump TV and among Republicans is, no cows, no burgers, no milkshakes, no planes. Everyone's out of a job. What is your response? What's your essentially elevator pitch for someone who says, what is this thing?
Well, first I would say not true, not true, not true, not true. In fact, Alexandria and I actually took a picture eating ice cream, which we both love, saying we need cows in order to get the ice cream. So it's not true. We're not banning airplanes. We're not banning cows. What we're calling for is a response to an existential threat. And we're saying that what we need is a green revolution, renewable, clean, non-greenhouse gas emitting technologies in our country. And what we're calling on is for this country to respond the same way President Kennedy did when he said that he was going to send a mission to the moon and return it safely within 10 years. He said in his speech we would have to invent technologies that did not exist, alloys that did not exist, propulsion systems that did not exist, and we would have to bring it back through heat, half the intensity of the sun, and we would do so because we are bold. We are going to do it because it is hard and not because it is easy. We can do this. We now have 350,000 wind and solar workers in the United States of America. There are only 50,000 coal miners. We are going to create millions of jobs in the clean energy sector. We can actually save all of creation by engaging in massive job creation. This Green New Deal, it's not just a resolution, it's a revolution. It's a technological revolution that young people in our country, but people of all ages want to see happen because they know that it is the national security, economic, environmental, healthcare, and moral issue of our time. And that's why it's not going away, and it's polling at the top in states around the country, along with healthcare, as an issue to be dealt with in the 2020 election cycle.
That was a long elevator ride, but it was good. Senator Ed Markey, one of the sponsors of the Green New Deal. Thank you for making the time. I'm going to be talking with the other sponsor of the Green New Deal, the aforementioned freshman congresswoman. Maybe you've heard of her. She's a sort of local figure here. No one's really paying much attention. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this Friday, as part of a special event in my home borough of the Bronx, we'll be talking about what's in the Green New Deal, how you can achieve, and if you can achieve those incredibly ambitious goals, what it takes to combat the crisis of climate change. Don't miss it. This Friday, right here, 8 p.m. Eastern. That is all in for this evening. The Rachel Maddow Show starts right now. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Chris. Thank you, my friend.